So welcome back, folks. Welcome back. We're live on Sexwise right here on Iriefm. It's 9:23 p.m. Now, for all our friends on social media, we want to remind you, you can like our page, Sexwise Iriefm, on Twitter, Sexwise Iriefm also, and you can email us to participate in the program, sexwise@iriefm.net. We started to delve in our very hot topic tonight. Who is a virgin and who really decides anyway? So, Dr. Bailey has been sharing with us forms of sex, some of which we've never heard about before, that you can actually practice to maintain your virginity in the medical sense, right? Because we know that there's societal influences on who is a virgin. So before going to the break, Dr. Bailey, you said a very, very, very nice word. I like how it sounds, just like a lot of the words you're teaching us about the female body, are just super like aperture. No, not say it like that, man. You have to say aperture. I just
love to hear him say it.
And we also heard, what's it? Frottage.
Okay. We were discussing some.
What's a frottage? It sounds like frosting.
Or a sandwich.
We were discussing some examples of non-penetrative sex.
Right.
Because, as I mentioned before, virginity is often thought as a breakage of a barrier, which is usually the hymen, which is a covering that lies over the vagina. And so a virgin is said to have an intact hymen, or virgo intacta. Now, many girls in particular practice non-penetrative sex in order to preserve their virginity. And so we discuss mammary sex, we discuss axillary sex, we discuss foot sex, and we are moving on to frottage, which basically means where two body parts are intertwined in an erotic kind of motion.
So rubbing,
which is called rubbing, yes.
Oh, okay. Without insertion.
Yeah, right.
Friction.
But it sounds so much to say erotic gyrations.
Okay.
You said pronounce the word. We say my talk about.
So that's a frottage.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure lots of people been practicing it, but don't know the name.
Yeah, it's called frottage. Basically, it means the genitals are in contact with clothing on, and that's called.
We've heard of the frottage in other terms from Jamaican men.
Let me tell you my mind go a while ago. Like after a guy hears does the term frottage, he must check a girl right now and say, "Yo, girl, we just want frottage, you see?" What?
Jamaican man, he knows about the frottage, but now he put a name to it.
Right. It's erotic gyrations that can culminate in a sexual experience. Of course. I actually left hand sex, which is manual sex, which again is where the hand is used to gratify your partner without exchange of body fluid.
What's that called again?
It's called hand sex.
Oh, it's jerking off. So that one that's simple.
Yeah. You see, if one confines oneself into the appropriate terminology, we call it hand sex. But there are a lot of expressions in the wider society, which we tend not to get into because they can be a little, risky, a little saucy. But manual sex is another one, and then you can have sex between the thighs, which is called interfemoral sex, which is between the femur. So if your partner inserts his phallus between the thighs.
Dr. Bailey, you are a cup of tea.
I need to be writing notes, man.
I cannot.
Between the thighs. For some men find that particularly gratifying. And so these are approaches that person have for gratification. The other approach that some persons do for gratification is phone sex, where they actually talk to each other over the phone and they discuss erotic stuff, and while they're mutually masturbating, and that is also a safe form of sex, which some couples find gratifying, and all that can take place without necessarily penetrating. So there are many couples in the society who, long before they actually get into penile-vaginal sex, have had sexual experiences, and so it's something that one needs, and the debate on the table, of course, is whether you have had a sexual experience. If you have had a sexual experience, whether in fact you're a virgin. And that's a difficult question to answer because many boys, in fact, start having sexual experiences from their own 12.
That was the upcoming question.
Yeah.
We are working on when do most people start having sex?
Boys start having sexual experience from around 12. Once they reach puberty and their testosterone level rises and they start to produce semen, most boys around 12, 13 have what is called nocturnal emission, which is emission of seminal fluid at night associated with very intense orgasmic experiences. And a lot of boys, in fact, will experience intense pleasure while they are sleeping. And so even though they have never had a sexual experience, they oftentimes have an orgasmic experience. And many boys have orgasmic experience long before they have sexual experiences. So girls also can have nocturnal dreams. The girls do not have nocturnal emissions. They have nocturnal erotic dreams. And they also will describe the experience as quite intense.
But how come it's limited to a dream for women, though?
Okay, because when a man has an erotic dream at night, he emits seminal fluid. Okay. So that's why it's called nocturnal emission, which is the discharge of seminal fluid. Because women, as a rule, do not emit or discharge any fluid during an orgasmic experience. It's called a nocturnal dream. Even though women do, in fact, tend to lubricate when they are aroused, because the emission is of a larger volume, is more voluminous. And a lot of parents, in fact, will come to me and tell me, little Tommy is wet in his bed again because she noticed that his underclothing is soiled. Could I arrange something for him to stop him from wetting his bed? And then I say, what's the character of the soiling that you notice? And she said, well, that's what I noticed, Doc. It has a different color than from the norm. I said, oh dear, little Tommy is becoming a man. And she said, he's turning man on me? I said, yes. So basically, persons, in fact, some persons also have mental orgasms, and that's something which we oftentimes have not spent a lot of time on.
Is that tantric?
No, tantric sex is different. Okay. There are persons, in fact, who can look at an erotic picture and without doing anything experience an orgasmic rush. There are persons who can watch an erotic movie and have an orgasmic rush. There are many persons, in fact, who read erotic stories and experience an orgasmic state by just reading the stories. And while they read, they kind of fantasize that events unfolding on the page is being experienced by themselves. And so the question then is, are they virgins because they're not actually having penetrative intercourse? I don't think so. I think based on the definition, a virgin must have an intact hymen. Previous sexual experiences means that you are just, as it were, activating your sexual muscles, getting ready for that great event which should occur in the future.
And preparing mentally too, because then you're gaining experience without actually having penetration.
Right.
So for a woman, once the hymen is intact, then she's indeed a virgin.
Yes.
For the man, right before we go to the break.
Yeah, that's a difficult one because men, you see, based on the derivation of the word virgin, which is from Latin virgo, which means virginis, which means a maiden, a sexually intact woman. There's really no word.
It's really for the woman.
There's really no word for the man as such.
And there's nothing in the man's penis that would be equivalent to the hymen in the woman.
Well, I tell you what, the German has a term for a male virgin. It's very funny. It's called youngling.
Youngling.
Youngling. The proper term in German is Jungling, but it's pronounced as youngling.
All right.
So they have a term for the male virgin, which is kind of very funny. But and the word for virgin in German is Jungfrau. Jungfrau. But as a rule, there's no Latin word for the male virgin, and so men plus societies don't ascribe much value to male virginity. You know,
all right,
they don't.
We're actually gonna get into that later. I'm gonna ask about some of the ideas that society portrays men as opposed to women. True. Actually, we have a male version that we're going to talk to later on. We'll go to a quick commercial break. We'll be back with more. Yes, a male virgin. I said it. He's going to talk to us later.
20 minutes to the hour of 10. We're having too much fun with the songs, courtesy of DJ Brian. All right, family, welcome back to Sexwise. Tonight's topic, it is all about who or what is a virgin. As a matter of fact, I forgot ... Is virginity a reality, particularly in Jam Down? It's your Vibes Queen, Lady Renae, alongside my sister DJ Amber, of course. And we have Dr. Alverson Bailey in the house, resident. So let's get back to the conversation, right? We'll touch a couple of things, who is a virgin, what is a virgin, what does it mean? How can you be a virgin but have some kind of sexual experience? Let's go back to the question, the most pressing question for me, particularly in our country. When do most people start having sex? You mentioned where boys are concerned, around 12 years old, where wet dreams are related, and 13 in terms of the actual activity.
Now, what we need to do, and I think a lot of the parents listening to this program should pause to familiarize themselves with some of the facts on the ground, because we tend to have an adolescent approach to sexuality in Jamaica, that we tend to behave as if it's not real, and our children are not sexually active, and we hope that they won't become sexually active until they're 21. But the truth is, let's go back as far as 2001. They did a survey of 1,000 adolescents and found, listeners, that 74% of all 15 to 19-year-olds were having regular penile-vaginal sex. And this one is really worrisome. 10% of 10 to 14-year-olds were sexually active.
But that was 2001, let's imagine now.
Exactly.
I didn't have enough time to download that data, but it must be worse.
Yeah,
therefore, it's quite reasonable to add another 10% to this.
But Dr. Bailey, even at what age did you say? The 73.7%?
15 to 19.
15 to 19. And there are still parents who refuse, even at age 15, to share sexual education information with their teens.
Yes.
So the children end up finding out about sex before the parents even begin to introduce them to what it is and what to look out for and everything.
That's true, because again, another survey done by the Jamaican Reproductive Health Survey of 2003 found that the first sexual experience for young men in Jamaica was around 13 and a half years. And for young women, 15.8 years. So it means that our youngsters, contrary to what the parents might think, especially young boys, are involved in sexual activities and are being exposed to all the risk of sexually transmitted diseases,
teenage
unplanned pregnancies, and a whole raft of other dysfunctionalities that comes with sex, because they are not prepared for it. And the idea that you of quote unquote age appropriate sex education is something that I've been reflecting on. When is the right age to start discussing sex with our youngsters? And the only way you can answer that is by looking at the data. And the data shows that 10% of 10 to 14-year-olds were sexually active. That's a lot.
And again,
that's 1 in 10.
I'm not going to stop saying this. That was 13 years ago.
Yeah. So, and once you hit 15, 74% of teenagers are sexually active.
That's way more than half.
And now the issue of the legal age of consent is another issue. And we're not going to get into that debate, but we do know that age of consent is 16. And if sex is indulging against without your consent, at up to age 18, you would be deemed to be guilty of sexual assault. But the point is that a lot of youngsters are involved in sex at a very early age, and in my opinion, ought to be informed about what's happening to their bodies, what's happening in the real world, and prepare them to cope and adapt to this reality.
Especially as many of them embark on this movement now called No Panty Day, which is disturbing on so many levels.
No Panty Day.
Yeah, in a real life.
Yes, I've heard that has been a practice in Kingston.
Yeah.
Very disturbing. And again, what I found too, in my own research on this matter, every time a youngster comes to me and advise me that she in particular is sexually active, I always say, why are you sexually active? And up to today, I spoke with a youngster, she's 19 years old, and she told me she's sexually active because she wants to please her partner. And many of these girls are sexually active not because they enjoy sex, because many of them sex is uncomfortable and devoid of pleasure. But many of them get involved in sexual activity because they want to please their partner. And the other unfortunate reality on the ground why virginity is not priced in Jamaica, as it were, is that a lot of teenagers are involved in transactional sex, where they actually get involved in sexual experiences in order to gain some material goods.
And some of the times it may be lunch money, bus fare.
Look here.
Things as simple as that. So we do know that is the harsh reality on the ground.
Indeed.
Now, as you said earlier, Doc, for most of these youngsters who engage in sexual activity, and I hope the listeners did hear the percentage, which is from back in 2001, very high number indeed, 73.7% of our teens between 15 and 19 are having penetration.
Yes, and this is not intercourse.
No form of intercourse, intercourse. All right, so Doc, for most young ladies, you said earlier that it's not even enjoyable. They're doing it in order to please the partner, right? Does it always have to be painful, or is it always painful when the hymen is broken or a woman loses her virginity? Is it always a horrible experience, as we know some women have had a horrible experience?
Okay, just to put things in perspective, the hymen is a thin membrane that lies in front of the vaginal opening. And it actually, in an intact state, is circular. It looks like a round O.
Right.
In many women, during intercourse, this particular structure is either stretched or it is torn. And if you have violent or rough sex, it is actually ripped apart and can be exquisitely uncomfortable and painful for many women.
Exquisitely.
Because the truth is, for many women, first sex experiences is not pleasant. And some women, in fact, their first sex experience is so traumatic that they develop a thing called SAD, which is sexual aversion disorder.
They don't want to do it again.
No.
Yes.
And I've known a couple, two couples I've known, in which the marriage lasts, in one couple, the marriage lasted exactly 2 hours. When they went to the hotel for the honeymoon suite, the gentleman had no idea what to do. This girl was a Christian girl with Virgo intacta, and he went into battle and ruptured the rampart.
He was also sexually inexperienced.
I have no idea, but based on his behavior, one would presume so. And he ruptured her hymen, and that very delicate tissue just beneath the hymen is called a fourchette, F-O-U-R-C-H-E-T-T-E. He ruptured it, and she had to be sutured. And on the way to hospital, she called her mother and said, "Mom, I'm coming home because this is rough stuff."
Assault.
And now there's another case I know in which the woman was a Christian. She was 40 years old. She's never had sex, and on the night of the wedding, her husband, who was obviously inexperienced, tried to force his way into an unreceptive aperture, and he bruised her. And when he woke up in the morning, all the bags were packed, and she said,
"Traumatized.
If this is what marriage is all about, I'm out of here." And in fact, she left and never returned.
Lock up shop.
So virginity has its attributes, and I would like to mention some of the benefits of virginity. But the virgin state has to be regarded as, if you are in a virgin state, you're in a delicate state, and you have to be treated gently and carefully.
Straight.
And one of the important points I want to emphasize, especially in women who do not want to get involved in premarital sex, which is okay if that makes you happy, that prior to a sexual encounter, you need to visit a gynecologist so that he can evaluate you to make sure that your hymen can be receptive to the travails of sex. Because sex for many women at this early stage is fairly traumatic. And so there's some women who actually have a condition called vaginismus, in which your vagina goes into spasm.
Yes, we have talked about this before.
It goes into spasm. And because of fear, they have been told that sex is going to
hurt, right?
And they go into spasm.
Right.
There are other women too whose hymenal opening is very small, and in that particular case, they have to be subjected to a period of gentle dilation prior to marriage, so that the opening can be prepared for the events that is going to unfold on a wedding night. If she has not been prepared for that, forceful sex at that time can be very painful, and the hymen can rupture and cause a significant amount of bleeding.
Sound rough, man.
Yeah, well,
okay, so that is why
it can be traumatic.
So that is why a woman would bleed the first time she has sex.
Yes.
If it is traumatic in that sense.
Yes, because if the distension of the hymen occurs gently, then even if there's some bruising during the act, it won't be as traumatic,
be severe,
as if there's forceful rupture of the hymen. So a virginal state is a delicate state, and a man who gets a virgin should handle her gently.
So just to advance a particular question that Amber just asked, can your virginity be broken without bleeding?
Yes.
Okay.
No. You can be made non-virginal,
right?
Without, because it's almost like two contending thoughts. Can it be broken without bleeding? Because break suggests there's a rupture. But I think what you're asking me is, can you lose your virginal state without necessarily bleeding or be subjected to trauma? And the answer is yes.
Okay.
Because if in a virginal state your male partner recognizes what's happening and he prepares you through gentle dilation with his hand, and if you are vaginismus, that might have been done by a gynecologist. If he uses adequate lubrication and gently enters his female partner, where the hymenal opening is allowed to stretch easily, then he can enter without rupturing the hymen. If he is filled with ignorance or anxiety, if he is not appropriately lubricated, and he forcefully inserts anxious phallus into a resistant introitus, then that is going to be...
I way throw something at you, I swear. Before 10... Okay, all right. Where did this whole concept of virginity start? Because we spoke about tacta, Virgo, where certain words and concepts derive from and all these things. But truly...
And the hymen.
And the hymen. And,
well, for me, so far, that's the only thing that can really... They can really say, all right, this is what makes the difference between a person who wasn't having sex and a person who is having sex.
Yeah, virginity is regarded by most cultures as a prize gift. And in fact, in many societies, your virgin status is critical for successful marriage. And so, unfortunately, in those societies, oftentimes prior to marriage, the woman has to present her betrothed, her husband to be, a certificate of virginity.
But who come up with that concept, yeah? Who come up with that concept,
How do you see the hymen to be able to? Because a doctor has to give her the certificate, right?
A certificate.
How does the doctor? You can see the hymen with the naked eye.
Yes. Okay. What the man, and in fact, in many cases, it is the father of the bride, of the groom rather, who wants to verify that the woman his son is going to marry is a virgin.
What you say?
Therefore, they want her to do a virginity test, and this is done a lot in Africa and in the Middle East. Virginity test basically means going to a doctor to see if your hymen is intact.
So does he have to be a virgin too?
No, his virgin status is
Look here,
in fact, the physician then provides the family of the groom with a certificate of virginity. The other approach that some cultures require is what they call a proof of blood. And that's a term that is used. So on the day of the marriage, or when the marriage is consummated, a special covering is placed on the bed, and after the marriage is consummated, any soiling that takes place is observed to see if there is evidence of virginity. And in fact, in some cultures, that particular marital sheet is actually displayed to other relatives to say.
So who picks up the sheet in the morning? The parents, mother-in-law, or
who picks up the sheet?
Yeah, who picks up the soil?
That's a good question.
The details aren't clear in my mind, but I presume the husband, because there's a prize trophy, you know.
Yes. To say he got a virgin for his wife.
Here is proof that I in fact married
the soiled sheet.
Disturbing.
Yeah, and in fact, it's important for the family to see that evidence that their son did in fact marry a virgin.
So it sounds a bit like, biased to me. It's one of these things that, I don't know, just unbalanced in society. Yeah. But because if the man's family is going to ask for a certificate of virginity or going to use the method which you just described, then the woman no want to know. She no want to know something about her man too.
Of course she does, but you find that in many of these societies that are very patriarchal and male-dominated, regretfully oftentimes the woman doesn't have a lot to say. And in many cases, remember, the father gives away the bride, and he has to also receive a dowry from the groom for his daughter.
Him sell her.
Well, a dowry.
Transaction start long time.
And so, in fact, if the groom's family find out that the bride was not a virgin, then they might want for the dowry to be returned.
Take it back.
Yeah.
Bring back the cow. Bring him back fast. Bring back Billy. Billy go nasty.
And so the truth is that in many of these cultures, these are realities on the ground, and one just has to adopt.
Boy, the burdens that women have to bear in this world.
I swear.
That's a whole other topic right there, gender inequality.
Too much, man.
Yeah. And in fact, if one was to go back to the Judeo-Christian tradition, if you were to actually look at some of the admonitions that are stated clearly in Leviticus, Leviticus actually point out quite clearly, that if on the wedding night the woman is found to be non-virginal, the man has a right to throw her out, and in some cases she might even be stoned.
Oh, yes.
So therefore, that this kind of concept of purity, of wholesomeness, of coming to the wedding without having any previous sexual experience has been around for thousands of years.
I wish it the best.
It is an unbalanced way of
best.
thinking, or an unbalanced practice, in my opinion. We're going to get back to that. We're going to actually
Look
go to
now.
our... Well, hold that thought, Renae. Renae is just about to explode people. But we're going to go to our feature, Sex in History.
Let us know.
All right. Give me a little drum roll now.
But, yeah.
You know. All right. Sex in History tonight. In Sex in History tonight, we look at the deflowered child.
Yes.
And we ask the question, true or false? Let's see which one of you will answer. According to ancient Jewish law, a virgin had to be married on a Wednesday because the High Court met on Thursdays, thus allowing new husbands to file their non-virginity complaints immediately.
That's not play, you know.
Sounds true to me.
So this goes back to what we were just talking about.
Indeed.
So by the time the wedding done, bedding, then soiling,
Our body book out.
proof,
It book
Yes.
out.
or if no soiling, then it's revoked.
So who she
Yeah,
complain to? Who
Right.
she-
No, she doesn't have any say in this matter.
She not have no say.
In those societies, it's male dominated, and that's classic because, as you said, the man was given an option to complain and to revoke the wedding as soon as he finds that there's no proof of blood.
So hold on there. Go on, Renae. Go on.
I don't even-
Go on.
You're lost for
Okay.
words.
No, because but here's what I want to know, right?
Mm-hmm.
Who determines the imbalance in said culture and or society? Like who says, you know what? So women have to be virgins, men don't
But
have
if
to be.
women have to be virgins and men don't have to be, who are the men having sex with? Really? That's
What?
like
What is?
it's so unbalanced.
Yeah, I know. I understand, Lady Renae, and I sympathize with your temporary
Sorry for me.
loss of words. But the truth is,
Oh God.
these
What culture?
these things are hang in there. These things are actually being practiced, in a lot of African countries and a lot of Middle Eastern countries. This is actually being practiced as we speak. Now, the question as to rightness or wrongness, I can't speak to that because these are values that are inculcated in those societies from beginnings of time,
Wow.
and they just remain unchanged. And regretfully, the male dominant societies still remain a reality in many countries.
It's wrong up. I hear what you're saying.
And so, in fact, what they actually, especially in some of the Muslim countries, a woman's loss of virginity is regarded as a loss of honor for the family.
All right. Let's touch on that a little bit, Doc. So, is it only through penetration that a woman can lose her virginity? She can have an accident like off a bicycle or something like that, because that's actually a common theory.
Okay.
That a woman has ruptured her hymen after falling off a bike or a bicycle or some other form of accident, child's play or something.
That's an
So
excellent.
if that happened to me now, I me get my good Dory and my good husband, and then it become a problem,
And then flag
even
you.
though I didn't have sex.
Excellent.
So who decides who is a virgin?
Yeah, no,
They
it's
attack you.
Yeah, it's an excellent concern you just raised because I've been practicing now for almost 30 years, and almost every 3 years or so, women in particular bring their daughters to me for proof of virginity. Women would bring her daughter and said, I think little Mary is sexually active. Could you just check her out for me? And I would say to her, it's very difficult for me to validate her sexual status because her hymen might not be intact because of a lot of reasons. One, she could have been actively involved in dancing and stretched her legs and tore the hymen at the time. She might have been riding a bicycle, and sometimes riding bicycles do rupture the hymen. She might have used tampons, and tampons will also cause a hymen to expand depending on the size of the tampons. There are some women who actually self-stimulation and use their finger for vaginal stimulation, and that could cause a hymen also not even rupture, but the women are not going to hurt themselves. It causes a hymen to get wider, and stretch. Some women also use sex toys, and sex toys come in different forms and shapes, and sex toy is regarded as self-stimulation and is regarded as safe sex. And if you were in fact to go to a typical sex toy store. Some of these dildos and vibrators come in some really gargantuan sizes, you know.
But then, if you're gonna use that, I mean, that's penetration.
Yes,
Wouldn't you say you could lose your virginity by?
I would think so.
By using one of those things.
No, the point is there has been no penile-vaginal insertion. Therefore, she's theoretically still a virgin.
Theoretically, but then if the hymen stretched and torn and
but it comes back to the point. It comes back to the point I was making that if she gets married, say in one of these Muslim countries, she has never had sex with a man, but she has used a sex toy. She has been involved in self-stimulation. Then her hymen will have stretched, and so she's really not guilty of any inappropriate behavior as far as having sex with a man is concerned, which is what most of these societies are concerned about.
Right.
They're not concerned about self-stimulation.
But in those societies, though, who would believe that it is a sex toy? If you marry a man under the condition that you're a virgin and it was proven that your hymen has been ruptured by a sex toy or self-stimulation,
or the opening is enlarged,
right, or it's enlarged, how can a woman?
She can't.
She cannot prove it.
She can't. But however, there's I'm going to now tell the listeners of a simple way to solve that problem. A lot of women from the Middle East, from Africa, who are in Western countries, who recognize that either they've had premarital sex, or they have been using tampons, or they have been using sex toys, or they've been involved in self-stimulation, and they look at themselves and they realize that I would not pass the certificate of virginity. They therefore go to see the friendly plastic surgeon and say, "Can you repair this for me?"
Stitch up.
Too much.
Sew up the hymen.
Too much.
It's called
burst it again.
No, it's called hymenoplasty.
Oh, yeah, say.
Short word, patch. Patch. No,
so a lot of women, in fact, recognizing that is going to cause major problem when they return home, they actually go and have the hymen repaired.
Too much drama, too much.
It's a lot of drama, yes, but it is important for stability of the family and for their own. In fact, in many cases, for their lives might even be jeopardized if they're found to be non-virginal.
It can also, just one more thing on the hymen, because it is, to me, what defines a virgin. Even though we're having all these different definitions, at the end of the day, this is what, makes the difference then.
Right.
But some women are born with such little hymenal tissue that it's almost not there. How can she prove that it hasn't been broken because of sex?
Another excellent question. It has to do when a child comes to a doctor because there's a concern about sexual abuse or inappropriate fondling, and that the hymen, we normally look at the genitalia to see the structure of the hymen itself. Now, as a rule, in a Virgo intacta, that is a woman whose hymen is basically unperturbed, or she's not deflowered. As a rule of thumb, the hymen almost has a perfect O shape. It is normally the circumference is smooth, and so you actually see a nice O-shaped hymen. So a lot of girls, in fact, do have fairly wide hymenal openings, but the inner margins is smooth and unperturbed, and so it's not. It doesn't happen with all girls, but as a rule, that's what we look for.
Boy, right now, me know a whole heap of fathers, them I write this down right now, hymen, okay, me I go doctor, me I bring her, and this is what me I go ask for. The hymen is round, doctor, look if you see that thin something there.
Hey, what name hymen?
Yeah.
Hi. men. You understand?
Whole heap of fathers right now, big up to all of the responsible fathers who are concerned about their daughters and, playing their part in making sure that they get some sort of sex education. I mean, not check up on them.
No, man, edified indeed, because the parents that are locked in right now who are disconnected from the reality that their children are probably having sex don't want to face said possible reality. This is the perfect show for them. Yeah. I want to know, Doc, do you think virginity helps or harms people?
Excellent question. When I was asked to sit in, that's the thought that has been coursing through my mind. What are the benefits? What are the pros and cons of virginity? Let's look at the good aspect of virginity, the benefits. Virginity basically means that you have refrained from penile-vaginal entry until such time as you are involved in a committed, intimate relationship with a single partner, as a rule. Now, if you have if you are virginal, one, you would have saved yourself the risk of exposure to sexually transmitted diseases. Two, you would have saved yourself trauma of unplanned pregnancy. Three, you would perhaps have avoided a lot of trauma, a lot of drama that comes with a first sex experience. Because a lot of women, the first sex experience, especially with a gentleman who has no commitment to you, can be very traumatic. And my advice to women is that if you are a virgin and you're in a relationship and it is really not going anywhere, don't give away your virginity. It's priceless.
Agreed.
It is absolutely priceless. Therefore, there's a lot of benefits to maintaining a virginal state. Infection, pregnancy, trauma, and a lot of dysfunctionality. And sometimes, in fact, when women, quote unquote, offers their virginity to a man who they think that they love, and the relationship falls apart, in many instances she goes into frank depression.
I like how you say think. I like how you say think that she loves.
Right.
Because they go into frank depression because they have given away something priceless. And in a lot of instances, the kind of value that women attach to their virginity is not shared by the man at all.
Right. We're actually going to talk about that, the fascination of men with having sex with a virgin.
Yes.
But before we go to that, we mentioned earlier that we're going to have a caller online who is a self-proclaimed virgin.
Indeed.
We have Dean on our phone lines.
Yes.
We've talked to him briefly before.
More than once.
But he is a proud virgin. He actually told me that his motto is being a virgin is the best life to live.
Look here now, Dean, because
Dean, welcome to Sexwise. Good night.
Dean.
Like a virgin.
Okay.
Touch for the 20th time.
Like a virgin.
Good night, Dean.
Welcome, Dean. Thank you so much.
How are you?
We're doing good.
We are
Thank
fabulous.
you. Thanks for agreeing to come on the program tonight. Because
that is good. I'm happy I'm on the program.
Okay.
But one thing I sad about though is that I couldn't make it to come down there.
To be in studio.
Understand, man.
Yes.
All right.
I know about the well want to see
this virgin, right? Yes.
That's it.
All right.
Yes.
So Dean,
yes, sir.
Yeah, Dr. Bailey here. Are you really a virgin, or you just imagine that you're a virgin?
No, let me tell you something. From the day that I have come out of my mother's womb until now, I have never ever been in a sexual relationship.
How old are you?
I'm 27.
All right. Have you ever had any sexual experience? Have you ever had a wet dream?
Masturbation.
Do you masturbate?
Right.
No.
So you have
no. I don't know nothing about that. No.
Yeah.
No.
Do you find women attractive?
Yeah. Well, the point is, yes, but I just keep myself control.
You decide to abstain, but why though?
That is it. Abstain.
All right,
So the right way, no, man.
All right, so Dean, you say you've never masturbated. I don't know if you were listening. Were you listening earlier to the different kinds of outer courses that people have?
No, I never was listening earlier because I was busy doing something.
All right.
Dean, hold on. Dean, all right. So I understand you saying that you've never masturbated, but if you find women attractive or whatever it is that you do find attractive, how come is it that you haven't gone to a place mentally where you are aroused in any way if you do find certain things visually stimulating?
Or what do you do when you're aroused?
Yeah, how do you deal with arousal?
Well, I just keep myself at a limit, because what I'm saying is that I just don't abstain. So I just keep my mind off it and just move along.
That's like a bag of cold shower, man.
Because naturally a man, for example, we know that early in the morning a man gets an erection. Yeah, naturally. That's normal.
But the point of the matter is that if just like me now, 27, and still a virgin in the society, right? If when I wake up in the morning, nothing at all, I just get up normal because my mind don't on it.
Okay, Dean, do you have morning erections?
Once in a blue moon.
Okay.
Just a minute. If I have it this morning, for the next 2-3 months.
Okay. Have you ever had a wet dream, though, from your 27? Most boys start having wet dreams from age 12. Have you ever had a wet dream?
Yes. Tell you the truth, yes. But the
truth is good, yes.
Just a minute. The wet dream thing.
Yes.
When I was around 21 or so forth, I just have it like now and then.
Occasionally. So are you in the church? You have strong religious beliefs?
Yeah, I'm baptized in a church.
Okay. So it's your religious beliefs then that keeps you away from women then?
Or are you abstaining until you find the right person?
Well, I just abstain. I just abstain.
You want to abstain for the rest of your life?
Well, it's such be the case. I just waiting for more years.
No, man. Well, we're going to delve deeper.
Well, he's 27, Dr. Bailey. What do you think? He has time to change his mind.
Wait, no Doc, wait, no Amber, wait, no Dean, and of course, wait, listeners. We have ads right now. We have some names to pay.
You hear Dr. Bailey say,
well, go deeper, man.
We're
going to go
sex
deeper.
Actually has its advantages.
Look here, family, stay tuned.
Stay on the line, all right?
Stay tuned, family. Hold on, Dean. Tonight's topic once more, family. Who or what is a virgin?
Who decided that? But you know, it have to be 107.1.
Look at man.
0.5.
Don't.
0.7.
1 point.
Or 0.9.
Tell them.
All right, welcome back, listeners. We're in our very intriguing discussion about virgins tonight.
Bad.
Who is a virgin? What is a virgin? We know that some parents have been taking notes, especially the daddies. They're like, okay, the IMNA. How it spell Amber? How it spell Renae? Writing it down and making sure that they do a real, because now maybe some fathers didn't even know that you can actually check to make sure. I'm sure some of the mothers know that. You know?
Look here, talk about the mothers, they must stay up on them picnic right now. Look on them. They say, if any you do things, I'm here tonight.
All the right now.
Some tension.
Of course, one must clarify.
Even sleeping teenagers are on the threat right now.
One must clarify that even though you can look at the hymen to determine if it is intact, you might not necessarily be accurate. So one needs to clarify that, because we do not want a lot of the women rushing to take their young
flood the doctor's offices in the morning.
Pressure.
Because in some cases the hymen might have been enlarged or ruptured.
Or ruptured, as we said earlier, from sports and dancing and so on. We want to welcome back Dean online. Dean, you there?
Yes.
All
right. So for those who didn't catch Dean earlier, Dean is 27. He says he's a virgin. Being a virgin is the best way to live.
Yes,
and I asked you before going to the break, Dean, if you intend to I don't know how to put it, take a break from abstaining when you find that right person, or is it that you want to live a solitary life? I'm not sure exactly what it is that you mean
forever,
but by saying, well, you just abstain. You've never masturbated, we get that. So
but I've had a wet dream.
You've had a wet dream, but Doc, how much does a man control his wet dreams though? Is this a natural occurrence that he would have no control over, or it's a subconscious thing while he's sleeping?
The frequency of wet dreams vary across cultures, but we do know that even in fairly sexually repressed societies where sex is frowned upon out of marriage, that a lot of men do experience wet dreams. Now, the less sex you have in terms of penile-vaginal sex or other types of sexual expression like masturbation or non-penetrative sex, the more likely you are to have wet dreams, because your body produces testosterone, which is a hormone that oftentimes encourages the development of sperm, and the sperm actually is produced, travels upwards, and in many cases your prostate also becomes enlarged, and with seminal fluid if you haven't had sex for a while.
Passed it out.
And so oftentimes just the mere accumulation of seminal fluid and sperm seem to trigger off that kind of involuntary emission.
Right.
It's nature's way of kind of downloading the extra semen.
But Dean said earlier on that he doesn't get wet dreams often. Is that an indication of something going on in his body or mind?
Not necessarily. I mean, he could have a hormone. He could have a hormone imbalance, but then because of his religion, he perhaps could subconsciously suppress all
he
sexual
thinks about
feelings.
it less. Okay.
Yeah.
And we kind of getting that because you did say you're baptized, right, Dean?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So you're active in the church and you feel like abstinence is the best choice for now.
Yes. But what I'm saying is that what really bother me in this country is that we have too much teenage, too much
underage sex.
Underage sex.
Right.
Okay.
No, listen. You really tell me say nobody at all. No, I just be a virgin anymore.
No, but the question is why not, Dean? All right, here's the thing.
Why
for me.
for your age? Because we understand for teens what you're saying.
Just a minute, please. My age at 27, right? Still a virgin. Right? I just want the young underage one to know that a person is living at 27 years and still a virgin in this country. So why is it now that a 14, 13-year-old now, girl or boy, go have sex or intercourse early?
Yes,
No,
because
I agree,
we agree, and we heard the numbers earlier. I don't know if you were listening, but it's actually 73.7% of age 15 to 19 that is engaged in sex.
And
so
10% of age 10.
we totally support and understand what you're saying.
Yeah, Dean, we endorse your position, and must congratulate you for being able to resist all the temptations that most youngsters seem to have fallen prey to. The question I want to ask you though, do you have sexy thoughts?
Pardon me?
Do you have sexy thoughts? Do you think sexy things?
Like if we have sex with
No, sexy thoughts.
Thoughts
Like
about
what you
sex.
think
You
about
think
sex?
about
You
sex?
think about sex.
Or you suppress it totally.
well, my point is about things about that is that as a 27-year-old virgin, I don't have that on my mind.
Okay, therefore there is
Because,
not.
well, just a minute. Abstinence. That's always on my mind. Day and night.
No, Mama, I have a question. All right, 1 second. Dean,
Yes,
I am in full support, Sugar, of abstaining from what you believe at a particular point in time is just not for you at all. So after you pass the teenage years and you realize that it's a common trend for teenagers to have, whether it is unprotected sex or sex too early, or whatever the case is, and you made the choice for those, just go and hold it out and you're 27 and proud of and all these things. Nothing wrong with that. I just want to know, was this decision based on something that you desire, or is it based on the fact that you're in church and church has a particular way in which they...
Pause a little bit. The church now.
Yes, Papa.
I'm into my church, right? But the point is, if church now, that they really have nothing to do with me and my virginity. You know? And me decide, say, look, one, I'm going to steer virgin abstinence, you know?
So,
yes,
all right, so Dean, I have a question for you. Since you so strongly believe in this lifestyle and you see we're underage sex.
I'm very strong of this lifestyle.
All right.
Well, just a minute. Somebody come the other day and tell me, say, is virgin still a rare? I say, look here, let me tell you something. Virgin always a rare.
Okay, Dean.
Yes? And that, that person tell me that, is underage, you know.
Dean, just a question. You're 27. Have you ever dated? Have you ever gone out on a date?
No.
Okay. Do you plan to?
No.
Is there anyone in your church that you admire that you'd like to settle on with?
No, but when I'm in my church, I focus on the Lord Jesus Christ.
Okay.
Yes.
So in the future, you have no intention of marrying?
Well, I don't have that in mind as yet, though.
All right. So what is your life's work? Because we know that sometimes people are dedicated to whatever mission it is, whether religious or is it that you are becoming an advocate for teens to see your example and abstain as well? That is what you would like to do. All right, so what are you doing about that now? How do you influence youth in your community?
Well, I influence a lot of youth in my community. This little community here in St. Mary.
Okay. Tell us how.
When I saw some youth, and they were talking about person and this and that and so on, and I was telling that, look, let us tell you something. I'm a 27-year-old man. What them call me? All of them say virgin.
Oh, so your nickname is Virgin?
No. The virgin name that I got, is never in a sexual relationship,
And your community knows this about you?
Yes.
All right, Dean, it sounds to me like, as you say, you're very passionate about this thing. Sounds to me like you need to make more
I'm sorry, I couldn't never in the studio tonight.
All right.
No, man, you're doing justice on the phone, too.
Doing fine. We're going to go to a break, right? We want to thank you for talking to us, and I want to encourage you, since this is so important to you, for teens to see your example. And not only teens, because we know that there's a lot of illicit sexual behavior in our society. You need to now go out on a real mission, have meetings with teenagers in your community, and make a real campaign of this philosophy that you are living, all right?
Amber, 1 second. Before we go to the break, even though we're up on time. Dean, just to close, just to close a particular question. Are you in any way, shape, or form afraid of sex?
Meaning?
Afraid of the idea of having sex. Are you afraid of the idea
after waiting
concept
so long
of having sex?
Well, call it so.
Okay.
Thank you so much for your honesty.
I'm like me 27-year-old and still virgin.
Yeah, man.
But
Yeah.
Well, that we can understand
fully.
Yes.
Well, Dean, thank you very much for sharing with us tonight.
Just before I go, I just want to say this. A young person underage, let me tell you something. Sex not running them nowhere.
True.
If you are virgin, you are virgin. I'm not going to say you want to still a virgin now. I'm talking. And I want underage to be the same. See, I live in a country where so much underage children are having sex. It's no right.
Totally agree with you, Dean.
Just a minute.
But Dean, we're running out of time.
Yeah, we have to go to a commercial break.
To congratulate you
and
for
thank
this lifestyle,
you again.
and we hope others will emulate you.
Yes.
Okay, I will call all week.
All right.
Thank you so much, Dean.
Thank you very much, Dean.
Yes.
And as a matter of fact, that's a good point for us to go out on and remind folks that November is Youth Month. If you see a youth going astray, try like Dean and help them to stay up on the right track. We're going to a break. We'll be right back.
and trinkets over there, but ramping shop. 22 minutes to the hour of 11, family. Welcome back to Sexwise. Tonight's topic, who or what is a virgin? I have to say big ups to Dean, as a matter of fact, who, again, admitted proudly and loudly that he's a 27-year-old proud, you understand, virgin.
And I would say 27 is still young, and he's setting a good example, a very rare example, because you heard him say that an underage person asked him, virgin still are weird?
You want to get to the meat of the matter. Yes, it's nice and all these things, and him can fly the banner and show persons around him ends who younger than him say, he's still a virgin, and him a hold on the thing. But I want to get to the meat of the matter as to what is going on with Dean, because some things are going on. We'll keep it real. No, we have part 2 coming up, believe me, because we don't have enough time. All right, so family, of course, it's your Vibes Queen Lady Renae alongside DJ Amber, Dr. Alverson Bailey in studio. So we can't have the show without not opening the phone lines. But firstly, a Vox pop that you must hear. So money, we got more and all these things. We touch the streets to find, from some persons, what you kind of prefer. Which one you rather? You prefer having sex with a virgin or an experienced person? Take a listen.
Experienced person, because me don't want to teach the virgin how to have sex. You understand? Me want somebody who have experience and know how to do it already. Me don't want that. You see it?
I would rather to have sex with a virgin, because for me it would be more fun.
Experienced person. Why? Because she already have her experience and learn about the thing already. Virgin, your problem.
It's better to have sex with an experienced person because less pain, less stress.
I'd rather an experienced person, because if you are inexperienced yourself, it doesn't make sense having sex with an inexperienced person, because they have nothing to teach you.
Experienced person.
I would choose a virgin because I've never took a virginity yet, so I would choose a virgin.
I would rather to have sex with a virgin, because for me it would be more fun.
With a virgin, because they don't know nothing about it.
I prefer the experience. I know a lot of the girls right now, they are not virgin. They will tell you that they are virgin. I tell you that right now, you see them walking and say, I'm a virgin, Not virgin, they are more than the whole time. I want them right now. You know, face them, my God, can't believe.
My God.
Why are brands so scandalous? No, but there you have the Vox Swap.
Yeah, that's what people are saying on the streets. Sounded to me like more women actually wanted to have a virgin, which is kind of unusual.
And of course, most men stated clearly that they would prefer a woman with experience. In fact, the respondent number 3 said virgin pure stress, which is true actually, because as I mentioned, the virgin state requires patience and a lot of tenderness. And if you're not involved in a situation with a person who you really love and care for and want to ensure that the whole experience become not a nightmare but a memorable one, you got to be careful. And if you're just involved in casual sex, that's going to be a problem.
All right, we want to let you know you can call us up and participate. If you want to call in with a question for Dr. Bailey or a comment on our topic, who is a virgin, numbers to call 974-5051, 974-5043, and 974-5079.
Yup, 618-0352.
All right, we have our first caller online. Welcome to Sexwise. Good night.
Good night, caller.
Ill.
Okay.
Hi.
Remember that when name Dean.
Yeah, man.
I want to then have some mental breakdown or something in 100%.
We can't comment on these mental status.
True.
Because
well, we're not really bashing. We're not bashing for earlier. I want to hear your other side and story.
Yeah.
We want to hear it. Differences still.
True.
Unless you have some pre-start or something. In plans to become a priest or something.
That's an interesting thought, caller, because when he mentioned his desire to conform to a lot of Christian ethics, and that is his desire to become totally committed to the church. I really thought that perhaps he was thinking of the priesthood, which is okay.
or probably 8 women or something. But him have an issue against them.
Well, he didn't say. We asked him if he's attracted to women, and he said yes. But basically, he's decided to abstain. So it's a mental thing, I would say, where he tells himself that he's not interested in that side of life. Maybe just for now.
Yeah, he must mentally unstable or something.
You can't say that, caller. You're being unkind. But
and we didn't get that from him either.
All right, like him example, the little girl, like, at one point, you know, say, I 11-year-old, stand up to me, and I say, if, and I next 14.
So there you see his point of trying to set an example for teens and youths out there, because the numbers are very high of young people having sex.
Yeah, well, with you know, him not start live life yet. If you not.
Well, he thinks he's living the best life.
Yeah, and we're going to talk to him. We're going to talk to Dean more too, because I mean he gives us a part of the story, and there's more to come. But here's my question to you though: like, which do you prefer? You prefer to have a sexual experience with a virgin or someone who is experienced, and why?
It depends on my feelings and them way there. It depends.
All right.
You didn't answer the question, though, Carl. Would you prefer?
Feelings.
Would you, as a rule, if you're given an option,
sorry, go ahead.
If you're given an option to get involved in an intimate, committed relationship with a virgin or an experienced woman, which one would you prefer?
As I say again, that it all depends on the moment. Because if somebody, if they go hard and all, you know, yeah. And if then I say, all right, gentle. If it's a vigorous, then I want somebody with experience. Like we plan to go gentle. Because we're professionals, so we're going to do the thing as a man.
Okay. It sounds as if, you know, this is a more than one partner situation. Because if sometimes you're going to feel that way and then sometimes you feel another way, then it doesn't really answer the question. But thanks for calling.
Yes, thank you for calling. Basically, what he's saying is how it depends on how him check for the girl. If him check for her a particular way, he might have the patience for wait and go through the rigors of a virgin. But if he want to rough up something, he wants somebody experienced. I don't know at all.
We have another caller online. Good night. Welcome to Sexwise.
Good night, caller.
Hello.
Yes.
Good night.
Good night, Amber.
Yes, good night.
Lady Renae.
Blessings to you.
Yeah.
Go on.
All right. You know, I'm listening to the program. It's very interesting, you know, seriously speaking. But I really have to comment on this 27-year-old man, right? He's 27. And believe me, I can't even believe this man. I'm just listening to how he's addressing himself. But believe me, I don't believe he's honest. Seriously. I don't believe so.
Well, why? You think it's impossible for a man at the age of 27 to be a virgin?
27 and look at an 11-year-old, a 12-year-old, and them interested in sex and thinking all about these things. So what about a 27-year-old grown man like this?
Well, to each their own, you know.
Something really wrong with this man.
Well, I wouldn't say something is wrong with him. I would say that he's made that choice, even though it's very uncommon, you know?
Yeah, it's a preference.
Come on, DJ Amber, 27-year-old.
It's not so impossible.
You know, so I believe him.
It's not so impossible, my friend.
Maybe man try to make a drama.
But caller, you would admit that there's some persons that are so committed to the church that they really abstain from even the thought of sex, you know.
Exactly. He's a church man, you know, so it's
you have
quite
to recognize
possible.
that he's a church man.
Well, on, let me ask that. Is this the first case you ever hear of?
No. I mean, a lot of persons who are in the priesthood and have no interest in sex at all.
And I think there are still quite a few out there, you know, people who are maybe not the same as Dean, but similar.
All older.
And we understand that it's hard for you to believe, but we believe him.
Yeah, man. I actually do. But
Lady Renae, you believe this.
No, man, we'll keep it real, man. No, man, I choose up, man. I strongly believe that there's something underlying going on with Dean, but we'll only get part of the story.
Right. We're going to invite him again another time. All right, caller, thank you for calling.
All right, pick up yourself and do a good job.
Yeah, man. Thank you.
No flow, Papa.
All right, good night, caller. Welcome you live on Sexwise.
Yes, good night, caller. Hi.
Hello?
Yeah, man, you're live.
Yeah, good night, caller.
Hello?
Yes,
hi,
go
good
ahead.
night.
You're listening to the radio, so just turn it down and go ahead and speak freely.
All right. You know what? I thought I was speaking to you people from earlier on, but I never realized that I was not the person in line. Anyway, I write down my topic to challenge this thing with from I hear it advertising. Okay?
Right.
Listen, who is a virgin?
Yes.
Equal a person that never have sex. Again, what is a virgin? Equal brand new sex parts that never use. Okay? Equal genuine / non-genuine, patented / generic.
So like you're about car, man.
Not for souvenir. Again, I hear people talking about priceless. They can look in the Oxford and the Webster. Nothing that is priceless does not have any value. So there is no use people going arguing about what is priceless from what carry a price. Something that carry a price have use. But anything when I no price money don't have any value.
But we're talking about human beings here, not items for sale.
No, but we categorize it. We know say a human being we are talking about, but every man categorize these things.
You mean the way that society views virginity as you said in the word priceless?
But categorize it. Them only put pretty words in a book, but go out there and ask the people them certain things in a street and hear where people answer you.
Well, the doctor did confirm what you just said, or he did state it earlier that a virgin would be considered in the medical sense someone who has never had sex.
Yeah, but even the other thing we hear not about priceless and all them something there. There is no part on your body that make to put down a souvenir. So it have to have a price on it, so it have to use.
All right, we understand you. All right, all right. Thank you so much for calling. We understand you now, loud and clear, all right?
No. What have more call, Brian? All right, good night,
let's take another call. We get it, man. It's a minute for sale like your parts, you know. Half a minute, then
break it down. No, I know when go a while ago.
That was it's valuable.
Yes, man, very valuable. Thank you, caller. Good night. Welcome to Sexwise. Hello.
Yes, hi, good night.
You shy?
Hello?
Yes, man, you're live on Sexwise, man. What on?
I'm doing fine.
All right. Can you speak up a little bit for us and go ahead with your question or your comment?
Yeah, you're speaking directly to me now, right?
Yeah, man.
Yes.
All right, good. Yeah, good night.
Good night.
It's an interesting topic you're all raising there tonight, and I was listening on my way from off the road coming home.
Yes.
That's a broad subject for the minds of many of our men in Jamaica and our women, because a lot of us have a lot of misconceptions about virginity.
True.
And sex on a whole.
Right.
Listen to that young man there. I am no written expert on the fact, but I do what you call off the mark, so to speak. People pour out them problems sometimes, and sometimes it's very interesting to hear what some people have to say. And I've had to deal with a case like that young man there, where he said he has no interest in sex with a woman, neither does he have sexual interest with a man, but he chooses to abstain because he's had a bad memory of something that happened.
We actually were saying this, as part of the discussion concerning Dean, that we feel like there's an underlying issue. Why is taking this stand?
There is likely, because it's like a woman who don't particularly want to be sexually involved either. You wonder why. While you have other women who are nymphomaniacs who will go all night long, all day, 7 days a week. There are some people who have psychological difficulties from previous encounters or something that may have happened around them, in front of them. And these are things that we need to look into as well.
And I had suggested it may be from rejection too, because if rejection comes in at an early age, this can be one of the reactions to it, and like a hard cycle to break.
True.
Right, because, not a lot of us are cultured in how to approach a woman.
Right.
And our first approach sometimes is the wrong approach, depending on who we go to. We live in a society where a lot of the young ladies do not even understand what it is for a man to approach them.
True.
I am of this opinion right now that there are some girls in Jamaica, we call them phone card girls or iPhone girls.
We know about them.
Right.
Boy.
Let me draw not an analogy. It was referred to something that happened some time ago. I was privy to a video of some schoolgirls
and this was public knowledge. It was on the news, and it was on the YouTube and stuff like that, where there were some school children having sex in a hotel room somewhere in St. Ann here. And the approach that the young man took to the young lady, I said to myself, if I had a daughter and a man just come and, you know, what them call it, like the action like he's having a masturbation, and just walk towards her and bam, 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 and that him just start work like a no little romance, no little foreplay, nothing. I wonder what is going to happen to the generation coming up from now.
You mean the one
you ever
now?
think about it?
The one right now.
Yes.
You actually raise a point, you see, about, we call it sexual aversion disorder, which is informed by bad experiences or hormonal problem, or the person might have a self-esteem issue and they choose to preserve their mental status to not to get involved in a sexual encounter. As I said, this young man is a little unusual in that I thought you'd have said he has sexy thoughts, he likes women, but he choose not to get involved in a sexual experience until such time. The impression we got from the discussion is that he really has no interest in the opposite sex, really. He's committed to his religious pursuits, and you know, his past experiences might be interesting to unearth what could have.
I think we'll have to have him again as a guest, you know, sometime in the future.
You have another situation where it's concerned too, because there are a lot of churches that are indoctrinating people with the wrong perception.
Right. Yes, man. Them want them lock off. That's something there.
Like a cult.
You understand? Because I've been called already to talk to married couples who got married, are in church, were in church, baptized from them young, who were, in my opinion, forced to get married because of the Christian people, but had no love for each other, other than just a matter of seeing, liking, as far as developing a relationship as best friends. It was not there. But the pastor say, it's why you look good together, and you need to get married and become... you see, it comes right down to where, did I really love this man or this woman when I got married? And then later on, there's a complaint, and the complaint starts. It's a whole lot of things.
And it just ruins the whole thing, because then it ends up in divorce. All right, caller.
The whole process, you understand?
Yeah, we want to thank you so much for your input. Very precise. Sound like you're a very experienced man in these matters. So thank you for calling.
Well, that is dear to my heart, because there's a lot of ignorance where even the virginity thing is concerned, where certain men are concerned. Some questions I hear asked by men sometimes, I really wonder if we are breeding a culture of men who just dumb.
True.
Well, you know,
no, man, true.
True. Well said.
There's no approach as far as how, you know, when you're going to a woman, and then the woman that makes it so easy now. Yo, baby, come
thank
here.
You.
And they walk over.
Well said.
Paula, thank you so
much. I wonder who are the mothers of these girls?
No, sir. Well said, man.
Thank you.
I would have buy you a drink.
Not true.
Well said. Look here.
Lady Renae?
Yes.
I must congratulate you. You are doing very well.
Thank you very much.
I'll leave it at that.
All right.
Thanks for calling. And you know, I'm actually...
Amber know who in but she won't know.
Me know who alive.
No, it's serious.
I forgot to read the thing off here. All right, thank you so much for calling. And you know, this caller actually touched on two of our... two things that we've been thinking about, because we're gonna be, you know, bringing in some topics, some very interesting topics, some topics with fire and energy that we know that people want to hear about. Because as you heard him say, there's a lot of ignorance.
No, man, well said, man.
And we don't depend that.
A woman making it too easy for the raging bull man them. Look here. All right, so look here. It's 4 minutes to the hour of 10. We have to put a cap after we pop the cherry. We'll put a cap on it.
Yeah, clean all that mess up.
Look at what is going on over there? Look here, display in the sheet. Don't draw me out. All right, so we're at the end of another great show. Not true, Amber?
Man. I had fun being here tonight, learning and teaching.
True.
Bless up to all our listeners out there. We thank you so much for always staying locked into Iriefm on the 107s and at iriefm.net. Remember, even when Sexwise is not on air, you can go on Facebook and like our page, Sexwise Iriefm, and follow us on On Twitter, same, Sexwise at Iriefm. And you can drop your questions, your email questions. If you think about something before we come on next Tuesday, Sexwise at Iriefm.net.
And we can possibly deal with it because, again, family, thank you so much for calling in. Those who text it. No, we know the text line up and running. The 390-9863 number. No, man, it's a one with a bag or something.
I don't know it.
We have to thank Dr. Resident. No, why I put guests on the paper?
Well,
family.
I want to pick with him before we close the show.
The book. I tell you, last week, you know, I said tension is brewing.
Okay, contain yourself, ladies.
Tension is brewing.
After the show, you get your book.
You hear him say calm.
So that was what a surprise. Like
in plan for we. In plan.
No, so I'm going to come at you, not true.
Yeah,
look here.
I do it. And in fact, this is really a fascinating show because the whole concept of Virgo intacta is a good concept. And there are virtues to virginity, but there are also some challenges. We anticipate that the listeners would have learned a lot and they'll be more informed now about, you know, how to evaluate a virgin status. And the most important thing is that virginity is a good state to enjoy because it saves you a lot of stress.
Especially for the youths out there. We want to reiterate that.
And if you are involved in a relationship where the person is a virgin, be gentle, take care, and gently introduce them to the art of sex. And don't go forcefully, aggressively traumatizing your loved one.
The art of sex. See, you need an audio book to explanations. You hear? So your voice
and got the voice, right?
All right. So Dr. Alverson Bailey, Associate Professor in Occupational Health at the University of Technology, author of Sexplanation, of a big up with technical operator, DJ Bri, and of course, producer. Look here now, you want us someday. And of course, our production assistant, Monique Price.
All right. I'm your girl, Amber. And as usual, before I go, I'd like to leave you with this quotation. Remember, folks, your body is your vehicle for awakening. Treat it with care.
Yes, sweet and simple. And I'm your vice queen, Mrs. Keep It Real, Lady Renae, saying, keep it sexy, keep it real, and keep it wise.
Because when it comes to sex,
ignorance is never bliss.
All right, guys, that's it for tonight. Stick around for Digital. Chrissy's up next.
Yeah.
Really, can you say for Podge for me?
Well,
for Podge.
For Podge.
For Podge.
I round it out with aperture.
Some people are going to try.
Yeah, it's the art of erotic manipulation.
Make him say aperture. Say aperture again.
Aperture.
Sure, done. I can't bother it. No.
For Podge. All right, people.
It was a pleasure being here. It was a pleasure being here.